careers. I do believe Ken Newburger is in the House, Executive Director, Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association.
That's right.
Medical Marijuana Association, not the Marijuana Medical Association. Hi, Ken. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Good weekend?
It was a good weekend. The weather was really nice.
Yeah, and we got to pay for that now because here we got 3 days of just certainly 2 days, tomorrow and on Wednesday, but this will be 3 weeks in a row that we've had this kind of stormy weather, so we'll see. Hopefully it's getting to the end of that. Was kind of taken aback a little bit by what happened on Friday. People said that this was going to happen sooner or later, but the U.S. House did pass legislation to decriminalize marijuana. Have you had any look at that bill or anything dealing with that at all?
So I've been aware of it. They actually passed this same legislation 2 years ago, and when they did, there was a lot of buzz around it. I looked into it then a little bit more this time because there have been some amendments, but it doesn't have a huge impact on our bill here. It helps a little bit, but it's also probably going to get stalled in the Senate. So there's a lot of factors here.
Senate killed it the last time, and as far as the Senate, the last time killed that same bill.
That's correct.
What do they need to do though? Because number one, I would think probably the banking aspect of this and the way people handle the cash transactions and everything else just to normalize it as any other business is probably going to be the one thing that the industry needs. But your perspective.
That's right, Paul. The industry really across the nation is asking for the same thing, which is just equal treatment to other businesses. You know, if we need to look at it from a different perspective on the actual drug of marijuana, that's fine, but let us bank, let us lease, let us get involved at a very normal business level.
How is that going to? Let me see how to phrase this. How does that put a crimp in what the normal transaction is that you just take it and deposit it into the bank? Tell me what we can do or cannot do, or what we will be able to do and not when this industry is up and running.
So that scenario you just said, take the money, deposit it into a bank. If it's a state bank, if they are acting compliant and they're willing to do it, that can still happen. Beyond that,
well, would they be subject to some type of violation if the federal government wanted to?
If they are a federally chartered bank, yes. If they're a state chartered bank, it gets to be a really big gray area that I'm not legally equipped to answer. But in every state, that is what happens, is a state bank says, hey, look, we think that there is a legal way that we can be compliant and report to the federal government what we're doing and still bank. Beyond that, there's really not a whole lot. You can't finance. You can't offer extra services that a bank tries to. It's really just a deposit. You can store this here, and we will hold it for you. That's really all there is. And if we do pass either the Safe Banking Act that the Senate passed 2 years ago or the MORE Act that passed this past week, that would happen. And that's a really great thing.
So the banks are going to be holding on to a lot of cash for that, or is there an alternative place to put it?
No, it's banks and credit unions where you put your cash.
And that's basically it. That's the only thing you can do.
That's right.
And if they went broke or something, or if there was a bank robbery or whatever, God forbid, are they covered as far as FDIC or anything like that?
No. If I don't really know how banks get insured other than FDIC. If there is some kind of insurance, I'm sure that would happen. But no, FDIC only covers the legal federal funds, so they can hold it, and that's a lot of security for a business. But for a bank, that's something they need to consider.
That is amazing. And how in the world do states like who've been doing this for a while now, like let's just say Colorado, how have they married those two things together?
Do you mean how do they actually have banks?
What is against the law and what is they can't? I mean, they don't have any. They don't have any rights that we don't. I mean, it's the same thing. They're covered under the federal guidelines, so they can't put it in banks. The banks can't deposit it there either, can they?
Well, I mean, they can deposit it there, just not in FDIC insured accounts. Yeah. It's a separate account.
Can they draw interest on that?
No, I don't think so. So they pay. Typically, you'll see marijuana companies pay exorbitant fees for the security of banking.
Could the marijuana industry start their own bank?
Well, it would still be subject to the same federal...
Same rules and regulations.
Yeah, I mean, I know of a few people who are looking at that right now that are thinking about starting a bank, and a couple banks in the state that are looking at doing this and having that to be a separate thing within their bank. But it's just an unknown, and things like the MORE Act would help push that forward. Yeah,
but apparently it's not holding the industry back. I mean, it's still going full steam ahead and ready to get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, it's holding it back in the sense that it's operating at 90% rather than 100.
What else would that federal law do if they decriminalized it, if the Senate agreed with that bill?
Yeah, so this is where it starts to get to things that the Senate really wouldn't agree with. So it does a lot of it adds taxes at the federal level, which is not necessarily something that a lot of people in the Senate have been interested in handling. They think that states are already taxing this, and that's sufficient. It adds some funds for helping with highway patrol, which I think the Senate would be in favor of. And then it also does a lot of expungement actions, and that's where people start to think, well, maybe we shouldn't immediately look at expunging all marijuana charges because they might be linked up with other charges as well.
Yeah. So, like Congress tends to do, they've gone overboard and want to meddle in things they don't need to be meddling in.
That seems to be the problem as it gets from the House to the Senate every single time.
Ken Newburger is my guest, Executive Director, Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association. Ken, is this bill pertain to both recreational and medical marijuana, or does it draw a distinction between the two?
No, it's both. It lets the states determine what to do, so it doesn't override the states in any way. If it's still illegal at the state level, like recreational is here in Mississippi, that would maintain the case here in Mississippi. It would only be...
Yeah. As far as we know, I think it would be making news. I don't think there's anybody been held on some charges, federal charges, and this has gone through the court system. Any state has been charged.
Oh no, they haven't. No, the federal government is not enacting those things.
All right, I want to talk also where we are in the state of Mississippi, and we'll get some of that in, and this we'll continue on the other side. But give us a review of where we are now. This is April the 4th. Things are moving along pretty fast. So kind of give us an idea where your members of the Mississippi, the Medical Marijuana Association, where they are and what we're doing.
Yeah, well, they're really settling in at their locations. They've been working with different municipalities, those that are still in, some that are opting out, talking about, hey, can we locate here? Can we not? A lot of them have already secured their property and starting to do their build-out, looking into the industry coming together by the end of the year.
So most of them know whether in some of those counties, I'm thinking of Madison County up in the Canton area, I think there's a pretty big facility coming in there. So they, regardless of what the city does, whether it opts in or opts out, in some of these cities, if you are a manufacturer, you're clear to go.
No,
that's not holding you back.
No. What I mean is a lot of these cities have made it very clear that they're going to stay in, and by saying that they're going to stay in, my members have started moving forward in those areas.
I got you. Are you surprised by the number of people who've opted out so far? Because it hasn't been that many.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah. And I'll ask you this when we come back. There's going to be some concerted, coordinated effort to make sure those cities who have opted out through your organization get on the ballot, the next ballot. We'll talk about that. And also the initiative process, where it is and how it affects the future of the marijuana industry in our state. Ken Newburger. Ken is Executive Director, Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association. Later. Let me get back to Ken Newburger. Ken is Executive Director, Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association, or UL Association. I'm wondering, does this have anything to do as far as the federal laws, too? Nothing's changed when you go into a retail outlet with your obligatory card from a doctor, nurse, whatever it happens to be. You still have to use cash. You cannot use a credit card or a debit card. Is that right?
There are ways you can use a debit card because that's effectively like a check, but you cannot use a credit card.
Well, you could use a check too, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So it's not strictly mandate just cash.
That's correct. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the job opportunities there, because we had somebody just on the C-Spark text line said they've just hired about 100 people in Canton So I'm sure this is going on across the state wherever some of these businesses are beginning. But there is a particular expertise to this as far as the manufacture, growing, processing, shipping, and everything else. And for the most part, I don't think we have anybody who is in our state who went through college or training or anything else as far as tech school that have this expertise. Should that be something that we start in community colleges?
I think absolutely. I know a couple companies that they're working with people out of state. They're bringing that expertise in, and they're trying to communicate either with some of our main full four-year colleges or our community colleges, saying, let's do some initial programs, let's do some initial courses to help bring people up to speed. So that's definitely something that people in the industry are already having conversations about.
Yeah, we had this story a couple of weeks ago about the university where you can get a degree in this. And everybody thought, a lot of people thought that was a joke, but it wasn't a joke because there is a lot of expertise behind this. That said, are there any amenities or any services that are afforded by state agencies that the industry, the marijuana industry, couldn't take part in? In other words, could not be afforded to. In other words, whether it's Mississippi Employment Security or anything like that, they could all use state services, right?
That's correct.
As far as you know?
That's correct. There's just no extra incentives. So any business incentives or development incentives that the state offers are not available to medical marijuana businesses.
Is there all aspects in your organization as far as the association, from manufacturers, processors, and everything else?
That's correct.
Else?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the processors now. Where are we with that?
Well, we certainly have fewer processors, I think, than any other and any of the other big three, which are growing, processing, and dispensing.
You know how many we have?
I represent about 8, and only about 3 of them, that's their specialty. The other 5 are part of a fully integrated business. I'm sure there are plenty of people across the state that are looking to get into it that I haven't met yet, that haven't joined or reached out. But there are a lot of people who are looking at the dispensary side. We had 3 events 2 weeks ago about how to run a dispensary, and over 500 people came out between those 3 events.
All over the state?
Yes, one in Gulfport, one here in Jackson, and one in South Haven.
How many do you think we have now locked in as far as dispensaries?
I think it's hard to tell with the distance setbacks, first from churches and schools and daycares, but also from other dispensaries. It's really, really hard to tell. I think that once we get going, it'll be around 200 across the state, but it'll be hard to know until then.
I think I'm misplaying this one, but I thought that there was going to be more outrage over the possible failure of the initiative process from the recreational marijuana group. Doesn't seem to be that much of an outcry. I might be misplaying that, but and I know that they're there and they want that. But as far as the initiative process, if it stalls and goes another year, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I just think it's a shame, really. It seems to me, and this is just what I've heard, that the problem is how many signatures need to be gathered.
Right.
And I get the point that we need to take this seriously, but when it's a statutory vote like it's been proposed, this is a precursor to a vote. It's upsetting to see a right of the people, one, get denied at the Supreme Court, and then over another technicality of how many signatures need to be gathered here. So it's just kind of an upsetting thing, at least for me and the people I know, because we really love the initiative process because that's how we got here, right? I mean, it's just we really honor what it can do for the people of Mississippi, and so we think that it needs to get moved along as soon as possible.
But the process of the legislature worked out well for you.
That's right.
You basically got everything you wanted for the most part, and
that's right.
We dodged a bullet in putting this thing in the Constitution.
That's right, and I think that the proposal of making the initiative a statutory change was a really smart one, and I think that the way that we're moving forward on this, it's the right way. It's just it would be upsetting to see it go another year.
Those dispensaries, if it became recreational, they wouldn't miss a beat. All they've got to do is take the word medical out of it, right?
You mean at the state? Well, it depends on what the law is. I mean, you can't really operate a medical any business that is not serving just the medical patients of the state, because then you'll lose your medical license. Now, if dispensary is okay with that, then that's something that they can manage themselves, but they can't operate a medical business.
I understand, but Ken, we've had a lot of these states who started off in medical and they went to recreational. So what's the difference? Is not one? I mean, if there's one across the street, one's medical and one's just recreational, there's no difference in those.
Typically, you'll see taxes get taken away from medical, and they'll jack up the taxes on adult use. And then you'll also see a lot of businesses stay medical because they know they have repeat customers there that are ready to. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
And some won't. It's just that's how it plays out.
All right, before I let you go, let me ask you this. Give me a timeline. What do you think we're looking at now this 1st of April?
Right, so I think we're still looking at the hard deadlines of May 3rd for opt-outs. Then you've got June 3rd for the regulations from the Department of Health. And then you've got July 3rd for when the regulations from the Department of Revenue come out. And then you'll start seeing a lot of businesses open up as their applications get approved or denied. And then by probably December 1, December 15, somewhere around there, you'll see the first product on the shelves for patients across the state.
It's going to be very interesting. Man, we always appreciate it so very, very much, and we thank you. Anything else you want to put in here to wrap up?
No, I think I covered everything. I think it's pretty great to see the industry moving forward, and it's nice to see a lot of people coming out to our events to learn about how to do this right.
When's your next event?
Our next event is May 5th here in Flowood at the Sheraton. It's our convention. We're going to have people talking about how to have a dispensary, how to grow, how to build, how to handle this from a legal and a financial perspective. So it's going to be a really great full day long event. You can go to our website, medicalmarijuanams.com, to learn more.
If I walked into, let's say, the Canton place now, since they've hired, they seem to be further along, and if I walked in there right now this morning, you and I went over there, what would we see?
You'd see a lot of empty space. There's
just the building itself.
Yeah, they're. I think they just put up their panels recently. They're really moving forward on the actual skeleton, not so much the the interior.
I got it. Thank you, man. Ken, appreciate it as always. Thank you so very much. And keep us informed of